Hi everyone, it's Cassandra from Nanny Knows, and today I would like to address sending your little one to preschool. A lot of little ones are going to be starting at a playgroup or a play school or preschool. With some might have already started, but others are starting next week or the week after if they're starting very late. And a lot of parents are asking, how do you prepare them, especially if they're going for the first time, very little ones, and also what is the best way to say goodbye to your little one? I very firmly believe that you need to say goodbye, because sneaking off can spur up feelings of anxiety, and it actually affects the relationship with your child and can cause feelings of mistrust. So I feel it's very, very important for you to say goodbye to your kids and let them know that you are leaving, as hard as it may be for them and for you. Sneaking off really does affect the relationship with your kid, and doesn't build the trust that you need to foster a very strong parent-child relationship. Another thing that can affect a child is distracting them. What a lot of caregivers might do is want to distract the kids away from the parents, give them a toy, that kind of thing. Again, it's something that I feel doesn't benefit the child, because they don't understand, or they're not given the space to actually feel and allow those emotions. So distracting can actually cause a child to suppress their emotions rather than, sit with them, allow them, and then learn how to manage those emotions and figure out what's going on within them. So that we do through co-regulation. If anybody has questions around that, please let me know. But for today's discussion, I just want to discuss, how do you prepare your child? So some of the things, I'm going to start here with role play. And what from my experience, role play can be helpful, but it can also spur up anxiety within some kids, because they know what's coming, they know what to expect. For some kids this can be very helpful, for other kids it can really spur up their anxiety. So it's not something that I necessarily recommend at this stage. But if you want to introduce role play, if we do need to introduce it at a later stage to help your little one process those feelings, then I would suggest working with parents, and we can help them to process any sort of anxious feelings that they might be feeling. So what I say that you can do, if you do want to introduce any sort of role play to prepare your child, is to practice saying goodbye with Teddies, using a very simple storyline, and always remembering that it's removed from your family dynamic. So you can have a mom Teddy, a dad Teddy, and then the baby Teddy, but you're not using names. So the Teddy isn't Alex or Tom or whatever your child's name is. You're removing them from your actual family dynamic, although the Teddies would represent your family, if that makes sense. So this is what it would look like. Here's Mommy Dino and here's Baby Dino. Mommy Dino is going to say goodbye, and I'm going to give you 3 kisses and 3 hugs, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to come pick you up later, okay? 1, 2, 3. And 3 hugs. 1, 2, 3. Okay, bye. And Mommy's coming back. Hello, Baby Dino. I missed you. Mommy always comes back. Big hugs. Okay, let's go home now. So it's important to remember that this is helping your child to process those feelings and to process what will happen in real life. And then another thing to remember is not to make such a big thing or big fuss of it. A lot of the time it's our own uneasiness about them going to playgroup, or our own anxiety which spurs up within us. So we really tend to make our own inner turmoil more of a thing, our own sort of feelings of, that our kids are leaving, that there's this new milestone in their lives, that they're growing up. And we have all of these feelings surrounding that, that kids don't necessarily even realize what's going on sometimes, especially if they're very little. But it's our uneasiness about it, and they definitely pick up on that. So just not making such a big deal out of it. And what you can also then do is simply stating things matter of fact. So, this is a new chapter and being excited about it for them. So it can sound something like, you're going to playgroup, yay! Which bag do you want? The yellow bag or the red bag? So you're giving them choices, especially, in my specific playgroup, I've got little toddlers, and this is really the stage of independence. They want to practice their autonomy. So it's also very important to remember where the child is at in terms of their stage of development. With toddlers specifically, they want to be in charge. They want to make their own decisions. They want to know that they're in control of making those decisions. So it's important to keep that in mind. If anybody has older kids that want to know how to handle those types of situations, again, please contact me and I will let you know where they're at in terms of their development and how you can foster that and prepare them best for saying goodbye. So, giving little ones lots of choices that are within your limits. So, for example, if you've got to go into the car, you've got to get into the car. If they don't like it, you can do it within your limits. So you're going to the car regardless. It's not negotiable. But you can let them know: do they want to jump like a kangaroo to the car? Or do they want to hop like a bunny into the car? So they are in control of making that choice and that decision. But it's within your limits in the sense that you're going to the car. It's not negotiable, but they can decide how they want to get there. Okay. And then lastly, playing lots of peekaboo games and hide and seek games, especially with little ones, can be very helpful. It helps with that separation anxiety, in helping them to know that they're safe in knowing that you're going to return. So when you leave, that you will be returning. And then how to say goodbye to your little ones in their first few days, once they start learning how to adjust. When children cry because you leave, I always say that's a good thing. That means they are securely attached. And by the way, this information is based off of attachment theory from Susan Goldberg's book she's written, Attachment and Development. So it's very much research-based information. And again, it's very hard when we separate from our kids to see them crying or in any sort of dysregulated state. It's hard for us to see. We don't like to see our kids like that, right? But it doesn't harm your attachment if you do leave. That's very important to remember. So as hard as it is for us to see our kids dysregulated, we want to fix it and make it better for them, which is also not always helpful. But it is important to remember that sneaking off without saying goodbye is harmful to your attachment, because that's avoiding those feelings, and that can cause that mistrust, between your parent-child relationship. And then also dismissing or invalidating those feelings can be very harmful for your relationship. So that usually sounds like, why are you being like this? Or stop crying. It makes me sad when you cry like this. Or saying, I'm going to be late because of this. I've got to get to work, or you don't want me to have a bad day, do you? That's dismissing how your child is feeling. So we want to avoid saying anything like that to them in the moment. And anxious attachment qualities also cause if parents are worried or indecisive about leaving. So that's something that's very important to remember, because children sense those feelings and it spurs on their anxiety within them. So when parents hesitate, a child's inner voice is saying, my parents are uneasy, which means that this space is not safe, which means that I need to cling on and feel safe. So that because of a parent's uneasiness about it, children sense that, and it really increases the clinginess, if that makes sense. So what you can do is spend a few minutes with your child, settling them into their playgroup or their preschool, and then say a brief goodbye and give them a big hug and a big kiss, with their consent. I always say consent is very important. And then explain where you're going and that you will be coming back soon. So that they know, you are going to be leaving, but you will be coming back. So that, so that can sound like, I'm going to give you 3 big kisses and 3 big hugs, and then I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to come and fetch you later. If somebody else is coming to fetch them, so a granny or a nanny or a pay or dad or mom or whoever the case, somebody else is coming to fetch them, you let them know that that person's going to fetch them. And then, of course, if your child is very upset by this and, they don't want to see you leave, you can reassure them and you can say, I can see that you're sad and it's hard to see mom and dad leave. I'm going to miss you as well. And then whoever their caregiver is, if it's a teacher, whatever the case, let's say teacher's name is Teacher Mary, then you can say, Teacher Mary is going to keep you safe until mom or dad come and pick you up. And or sometimes they might even have an attachment item as well. So if they've got a little blankie or a little stuffed animal with them, then you can say this, Bunny will also keep you safe and remind you that mommy is coming to pick you up. I love you very much, and I will see you later. And then proceed to follow through. So you've got to follow those steps of, I'm going to give you 3 kisses, 3 hugs, and then I'm going to go. And to be quite swift in that, because the more you are hanging around after that, the more anxious your child's also going to get, because you're hanging around because of your anxiety, right? So the important thing is to follow through with what you've said. And then, of course, the caregiver or the teacher will then take over and comfort and huggle and co-regulate your child, allowing them to sit with those feelings and help them work through that, if they are trained in positive discipline. So it's very important for a child then to receive that co-regulation from their caregiver or their teacher. And, although this is hard, it might be hard to see, just try and request from the caregivers or the teachers as well, to work with you in that sense. Ask them to send you photos throughout the day, or to, let you know if your child is okay, so that the communication is there to put you at ease as the parent, because then you know that your child is in good hands. And then also the most important, when you do return and you do collect your kids, and where that attachment is really built on your return and builds that trust, you can say, oh, my sweetheart, I'm back. I came to fetch you. I'll always come back to fetch you. Or if they've been collected by another family member or a granny or whatever the case, when you see them again, you just make sure you always come back to mom and dad. I love you. I've missed you. And I'm so glad to spend this time with you. And then just to spend, even 10 minutes, one-on-one time, that focused time, just connecting with your child again and building that connection. Because a lot of the time also kids will start acting out as soon as they've seen their parents again. And that's really just because if they've been holding in any of their feelings and being composed throughout their day at their play group or their preschool, they've really had to keep those feelings in. And at the end of the day, you are their primary caregiver. You are their safe space. When they're home, it's like I can be who I want to be. I can be myself. I can let my big feelings out. Mommy and daddy are going to hold that space for me, and I'm just going to let everything out. And that's really why we see kids act out as soon as they come home from school. It's not to give you a hard time. It's just because it's like a big sigh of relief, and that is their way of communicating that. So it's really very important, if you spend those 10-15 minutes from that transition from the preschool to home, really connecting with your child again, that can really make the difference for the rest of the afternoon, really. So if you've got any questions, please let me know. I hope you found this helpful, and all the tips in terms of how to prepare your kids for preschool. And I hope they have a wonderful year where they're at this year. And I will see you again soon.